flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
And welcome into Mackie and Judd. Phil is out today, at least for this show, and so it is Judd. It is executive producer, co-host Declan Goff, and a man that you see on the bonus scoop on Tuesday, but he is filling a primary role today. I don't even know if he knows this. You are part of the Mackie and Judd show. Darren Doogie Wolfson, Channel 5 Eyewitness News. More importantly in our world, Scoop fame, Scoop master, the man who comes with the reporting and answers. Darren, how thrilling is this to find out at the 11th hour that you are coming out of the bullpen for Phil, and dare I say that you are far more classé than Pagan.
Wow.
You are Duran, not Pagan.
Well, yeah, hopefully I'm Duran, not Pagan. Does Phil know who Wally Pipp is? I'm imagining that Phil does.
Yes.
Think about Phil Mackey as Wally Pipp. No, it's an honor. It's a privilege. We normally go back and forth for about 10 seconds pre-show. We did for about 10 seconds, but this is the first time hearing that I'm filling in for Phil. So, yes. Enormous shoes. Hopefully I don't F anything up.
Let's start here. Timberwolves. I saw you tweeted out, and I think this is either now available or going to be soon. You tweeted out that you sat down. In fact, it was a picture of you and Wolves coach Chris Finch. As training camp draws closer and closer, what could you tell us about your conversation with the Timberwolves head coach?
Yes, so I was over at Mayo Clinic Square on Monday, bonded with the Wolves head coach. I can tell you, I don't know if this is out there. Look for training camp to begin. It would be the week of the 26th. So I know the Vikings play the Lions on Sunday the 25th. So for calendar sake, if you're looking for Wolves coverage to really ramp up, look for it to ramp up early that week. So Monday is the 26th. So early that week, look for things to ramp up. Some teams are starting to release when they open training camp. Like I saw the Washington Wizards open up a few days prior to the 25th, 26th, 27th. But for Wolves' sake, look for coverage to really ramp up really that Monday the 26th. Yes, it was good to be over there. I suppose timely based on what took place over the weekend. And Anthony Edwards' Instagram story, troubling comments, homophobic comments. Frankly, at 21 years old, he has to know better. Like, what was going through his mind as you're doing that live on Instagram? Like, there's something off there, and yes, Chris Finch said teachable moment, but to me, Anthony Edwards should have been taught a long time ago not to use that sort of language. So incredibly troubling from my standpoint. The NBA is looking into this matter. Now, no guarantees that he gets suspended, but the league is at least looking into that possibility. Chris Finch, no shock, said, "We do not condone those comments." Tim Conelly, president of operations, also put out a statement later on Monday. So I guess it was timely to sit down with Finch from that standpoint. Now, truth be told, I sat down with Chris for 22-ish minutes. We went back and forth for 22 minutes. I'll have that interview posted as soon as I can get to a new Scoop podcast. So at some point here before the week is over, I did not start the conversation with that. In fact, I ended the conversation with that. If somebody wants to go at me, it was one question. I let him say what he needed to say. We were done. I just didn't think it needed any sort of follow-up. I'm not quite sure what he would have said as a follow-up, but he gave me about a 25-second long answer saying, hey, teachable moment. We don't condone what he said. They've talked. Finch and Edwards have had a back and forth. So Chris Finch let Anthony know where he stands on this. So that was probably the immediate headline. But bigger picture, Chris did tell me, Judd, that there is competition for that 15th roster spot. So when you look at Nate Knight, partially guaranteed contract. When you look at Austin Rivers, partially guaranteed contract. Heck, when you look at Jalen Noel, partially guaranteed contract, although there's nothing to worry about there. Although I'll remind you, the audience, that the two sides are not close on a contract extension. The two sides have had a number of chats going back heck, at this point, 2 months pre-draft, really going back to June. The Wolves were trying to wrap up a contract extension with Noel, but the two sides were not remotely close. But Noel is going to be the first guard off the bench. So I mention him as a partially guaranteed contract, but there's nothing to worry about there. But when you think about a guy like CJ Elliby, he comes in on an Exhibit 10 contract. He started 28 games for the Portland Trailblazers last year. And I get it, Portland was a train wreck. But this is a guy who legitimately earned NBA minutes last year, couldn't even earn a two-way contract. So that just tells you how hard it is to land a standard NBA contract. I've always said there are more NBA players than jobs available. CJ Elliby is one example. He's in town right now working out at Mayo Clinic Square, but he's a guy hoping for a chance, right? If you don't think Rivers or Knight will make the team, there is an opening there. Now, Eric Paschall is here on a two-way contract. He's a guy who has started NBA games before. I think they leave him in that two-way role where they will maximize the amount of time that he's up with the Wolves, that he won't spend a ton of time with the Iowa Wolves. Like, Eric Paschall can play minutes at some point for the Wolves, but I don't think they messed with that two-way contract. They could at some point, switch that to a standard deal, but I think they leave that as a two-way. The question is, can a guy like CJ Elliby elevate? If I had to bet, though, right now, Judd, Rivers makes the team, Nathan Knight makes the team. So even though those guys have partially guaranteed deals, I think Rivers is guy 14, Knight is guy 15 when the Wolves have opening night mid-October at home against Chet Holmgren, although the Chet Holmgren less, although he'll be there probably sitting on the bench supporting his teammates, but against the Holmgren-led at some point, probably more so the 23-24 season, not the 22-23 season, but the Oklahoma City Thunder. Finch also noted that they have a stretch. If you look at the preseason schedule, they play both the Clippers and Patrick Beverley and the Lakers out in LA. The games are like 4 or 5 days apart. So the Wolves will have like a mini training camp out in LA for that week, but also all sorts of team bonding activities where they will spend a lot of time together off the court. Also of note, Rudy Gobert playing for France in Eurobasket. Finch was over there, so Finch was in Egypt for a Basketball Without Borders event. He went from Egypt to Cologne, and he spent some time with Rudy in Germany. They went out to lunch, and Chris watched a few of the France games. Well, so what the Wolves are doing, not only do they have these group chats going, so Chris told me really in a short time, Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns have formed a really nice bond, but the entire Wolves roster gets these daily updates. They get these stories sent to them. They get these video clips sent to them. So they are following very closely what Rudy Gobert is doing right now for Team France. I'll also note, so Gobert, these games, these Eurobasket games, they are high intensity. Like imagine second round NBA playoffs. Maybe not quite NBA finals, but certainly like second round or even conference finals. There's a big time intensity to these Eurobasket games. So Gobert, he'll need some time to decompress. So you think about that first time the Wolves are on the court for training camp, like September 27th, September 28th, September 29th. Chris said they have a plan. Like Rudy Gobert is not going to go at 100% those first handful of days of training camp. Maybe not even those first couple preseason games because he's playing at a very high level right now. He'll need some time just to, rest the body, rest the mind. Now, Chris also told me when you look at Gobert, Judd, at 30 years old, he is a physical specimen. Like there is minimal body fat. What he does to maintain his body with his nutrition, with his personal trainer, like you have to, right, as a big man, right? Like you can't be overweight as a big man and expect to play deep into your 30s. But like Gobert is in phenomenal shape. I don't know the exact number body fat percentage-wise, but like it has to be 4, 5, 6% maybe max. Like there's no body fat there with Rudy Gobert. So that's one thing that Chris mentioned. You saw it from afar, but now studying Rudy that much closer, you realize just the physical freak that he is.
Dukes, some sports books starting to set a little bit more over-under win totals in the NBA right now. DraftKings has the Wolves at 48.5. PointsBet has the Wolves actually at 49.5. So more sportsbooks will probably start setting these actual over-unders once we get closer to the training camp, starting to get close to the regular season. But if you were a betting man, 49 wins, would you take the over or under on 49 wins for the Timberwolves in 2022-23?
Declan, I think they are the 4 seed in the Western Conference. To get to the 4 seed, you need to go over. I think it's a favorable start of the schedule. Now, if the schedule was a bit different mid-October through mid-November, I might feel slightly differently, but it is such an easy start to the schedule when in theory they are still figuring things out, how Gobert and Cat will coexist. You have even Bryn Forbes. You have Kyle Anderson figuring out their rotation with all these new faces. Like I would have told you, okay, maybe I would pause. But if you look at their schedule, not just that opening game against Oklahoma City, but look at their first 9, 10, 11, 12 games, all those games at Target Center, but not only at Target Center, but against the bottom feeders of the Western Conference, Houston, San Antonio. Like, it's a really easy start to the schedule. They should win those games, even with hiccups. Presumed hiccups. Like, it's not going to click right away when you bring in Gobert with Cat now switching to the 4, right? There's an adjustment there, right? But, like, they can adjust and still win those games. So I will take the over. Maybe not comfortably over. I'm not suggesting 60 wins like some other people are, but I would take over 49.5.
So, Dukes, what do you think the expectation internally, I guess starting with Tim Conelly and Finch, what do you think the expectation is to what you brought up, which is how much time is expected to get the Gobert-Towns relationship on the court fine-tuned? I'm curious about that one because I'm guessing it's going to be good to start with, but I'm guessing that it's going to be by December, probably more cohesive than it's going to be on opening night.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't give you a definitive timetable, Judd. I can't tell you game 15.
Right.
It's going to just automatically click. No worries thereafter. I mean, I think there will be ebb and flows for a good portion of the season. But like you think about the good right from the get-go. D'Angelo Russell, Finch told me this. So I said, hey, are there any concerns with D'Angelo? You benched him in the Memphis series.
Yeah.
And Chris said, hey, I've spent time with D'Angelo this summer. We've had a number of conversations. He's in a really good spot. He knows it's a contract year. He's trying to earn a big-time contract again. But he said, hey, like D'Angelo can do some things with Rudy that he wasn't able to do previously. Like, we're going to be able to unlock more there with D'Angelo. Chris also reminded me, and he's right, they're not even the 7 seed against Memphis without Russell's performance in the play-in game against the Clippers.
Yeah.
Right? So he goes, hey, like, he can cite many examples. Yeah. Did Russell struggle against Memphis? Undoubtedly. Did Dylan Brooks have a lot to do with that? Yeah, for sure. Dylan Brooks is a plus defender. But, like, they maybe could have found a way to win that series. Heck, they probably should have won that series. And guess what? D'Angelo could have played very well that next series. Where, yeah, guys struggle for a series, but it's not necessarily the way they play for an entire playoff run. So Chris was quick to remind me. So, I tried to challenge him a little bit on D'Angelo. And he was very, very supportive of D'Angelo. So you think about D'Angelo, you think about Jalen Noel, another guy in a contract year. Like he told me, Jalen can play really well off Rudy. Now, Jalen has a ways to go defensively, but like Jalen and Rudy can be a really nice 1-2 combination. So like there are some good things. But yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, Cat and Gobert are going to have to find ways to play off of each other. Finch said, hey, nothing against Utah, but like we think there's more there offensively with Rudy's game. Like we're trying to unlock some things that we haven't seen before. Maybe we've seen with Team France. If you watch some of these France games, they use Rudy differently than Utah did. And that's not a knock against Quinn Snyder. I think Quinn Snyder is an excellent coach. I guarantee you 1 year from now, we'll be talking about Quinn Snyder coaching somewhere, right? Like he got out of Utah because he saw the writing on the wall with a complete rebuild, wasn't interested in that. But Quinn Snyder is an excellent coach. Just based on their personnel, they had to play a certain way. But like Finch feels like with their personnel, they can do some things differently, including using Rudy on offense a lot differently than Utah did. But yeah, I mean, for sure, Judd. Like, there are going to be growing pains. There are going to be times where we have these conversations on Tuesdays and Thursdays being like, whoa, what the heck happened last night?
That's going to be Mackie.
Right? Because they have a lot of Wednesdays.
Phil will be very
right?
upset.
Yeah, so we'll talk a lot on Thursdays. We'll be like, what the heck did we see last night? Like, I guarantee those conversations will take place. But, like, I think this thing has a chance to work at a pretty high level. And, you know, we're still talking about a franchise that has advanced past the first round once in 30-plus years. Right? So the bar's not super, super high. Yeah, trust me. You know, come June when the Wolves don't have a first-round pick, you know, I'll be reminded, I'll be like, gosh darn it. Like, it sure would have been nice to have a pick in this draft, a pick in the 25 draft, right? I get that, but I'm not anti a team going for it. Heck, I'm really happy for my guy JB Bickerstaff in Cleveland, right, with Donovan Mitchell. You know, so, like, I don't have a problem when a team goes for it. You know, I can't remember buzz like this entering a Wolves season really since, I suppose, after the Sprewell-Cassell editions, right? Going back to, you know, preseason 2003. So, like, we haven't felt this sort of buzz
the Butler
in 19
acquisition.
years.
The Butler acquisition was pretty, at that point in time, with the whole Mall of America Rotunda cell phone thing, that was pretty well received. But I think that this feels more real.
Well, this feels more real.
Sustainable.
I agree.
This feels more
close.
sustainable.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a wonderful comeback, Judd. No doubt. I just still think there was at least a portion of the fan base, maybe because Flip was such a believer in Zach LaVine. Yeah. You know, Flip just believed in that core, that LaVine, Wiggins, Cat core. Keep that core together. Special things can happen. That there were some people who said, hey, Tibbs just blew up Flip's vision. So, yeah, maybe Jimmy helps immediately, but over the course of a few years, is it the right move? Now, I'll admit, I had no problem with the move. Once you hand the keys to Tibbs, Tibbs can do whatever he wants. Tibbs had the relationship with Jimmy. So at the time, my first guess was, you know what? That is a trade I support. That is a trade I would have made. But I'm just telling you, Judd, there was a decent portion of the fan base that said, you know what? Keep LaVine and draft Lauri Markkanen. Remember, that was the guy they would have chosen if they had stayed at their draft slot, right? Now, there are some fans, right? Like, we could get some tweets, we could get some texts, whatever, emails saying, you know what? I don't support the Gobert trade. They gave up way too much first-round equity. I'm not on board with that. Hey, I think Bolmaro has a future. Hey, I think Kessler has a future. Why are we giving up 23-year-old Jared Vanderbilt? He's a really good player. He's only going to get better. So, trust me, there are going to be some Wolves fans, but I think there are more Wolves fans who support the Gobert trade than, to me, that supported the Jimmy Butler trade.
Dukes, the latest on the Wolves Pobo, Tim Conelly. What's the latest with him?
Yeah, so he's overseas. So, I mean, he loves scouting overseas. So it's not only Connolly, he's got a couple staff members with him. So the Wolves have a contingent overseas. They went to go scout some 23 draft prospects, even though they don't have a first-round pick. But you never know. You could always trade for a first-round pick, buy a first-round pick, buy an early second-round pick, whatever. So they were over in Belgrade doing some scouting. Now they've transitioned to go watch Gobert. So I haven't looked at when France plays next. I know they advanced in a close game out of the round of 16. So I don't know when their round of 8 game is. Heck, maybe it's going on as we speak, Declan. Maybe you can look that up when France plays next. But the idea was for Connolly to then transition along with a couple other Wolves front office members to go watch Gobert play for Team France.
For the record, I would like to say for the 1,000th time on these shows, I hate international competition when players I want them in training camp fresh. So I just want to say that this might be the greatest basketball of all time, but you're being paid millions of dollars by the Timberwolves, not France.
Well, you know what? Bring that up if somehow Gobert breaks down. I mean,
hate it.
He doesn't have a
absolutely
history of missing games. He's been pretty darn durable. But I guarantee, I promise, Judd, if he somehow even misses a couple games due to some sort of minor injury, like in November or December, you're going to go off the rails. I can just see it happening. I'm going to lose it. Yeah.
I'm going to lose it because of Team France. Dude, you're playing for the Timberwolves. The Vikings open with a very impressive win against the Packers. Now, yes, the Packers did not look good, Darren, but I will say this. I loved what the Vikings did and how they looked. I think if we had last week said, like, best case, right? Like, what's the best case offensively that we can see, defensively, special teams? I think this was it. This is probably as good of start against an arch rival as this team could have had. And we know that Justin Jefferson's special. That's not breaking news. But I did think that in his first foray with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback, Kevin O'Connell got as much from Kirk as you can possibly get and deserves credit for that.
Amen. Like, it's the beauty of sports, right? The ultimate reality TV. None of us, nobody on the planet foresaw what took place on Sunday. Yeah, people picked the Vikings to win, but certainly not win convincingly like that. You even mentioned, special teams. Heck, they came close to blocking how many different punts, right? The 56-yard field goal. They had one really good kick coverage where they kicked it short of the end zone. They tackled the Packers return man at the 16, 17-yard line. Like, special teams was A+. Just across the board. Even Rager had a return or two for 6-7 yards. You'll take that, right? Just don't fumble the ball. Heck, if you can get a return like Marcus Sherrill's for 10, 12, 14 yards, great. But, like, if you can just get some positive yards, you hold on to the football, fantastic. The beauty of Jefferson, Judd, you probably have the exact numbers, but, like, he lined up at tight end for a play. Yep. He lined up in the backfield for a play or two.
Yep.
He lines up slot left, slot right, wide left, wide right. He was matched up how often against a safety or a linebacker? I don't have the exact percentage, but, like, how often was a cornerback on him? Like, it wasn't that often, right? So presumably that changes next Monday. I would imagine Philadelphia has Darius Slay. Like, if they don't have him shadowing Jefferson, like, cornerbacks are going to be on Jefferson Monday night. I have a hard time believing. Like, I just don't see. And Marcus Epps is a good player. Remember him, former Vikings draft pick? The Vikings cut him a few months into his run here in 2019. He's now a really good safety for the Philadelphia Eagles. But, like, I have a hard time believing Epps is going to be one-on-one in coverage with Justin Jefferson. So there is so much to like. If you go back history-wise, and I get it, the 2022 Vikings are their own story, but, like, how often does a team win convincingly against a really good opponent in week one, then just curl up in the fetal position the rest of the year? Now, I'm not suggesting this means 12, 13, 14 wins, but I bet if you go back, a dozen years or a half dozen years, there are a number of examples where just a team wins so convincingly week one, they just don't fail miserably for large stretches the rest of the season. So, like, there's so much to like coming off Sunday. Yeah, it was about as good as it gets. Like, if you're a Vikings fan, I don't know what else you could want. Maybe the run defense, some leakiness with the run defense, but there's also an adjustment. Like, you think about Danielle Hunter now in a 3-4. Like, Danielle was really good against the run in the 4-3. Heck, he was really good against the run in college. There's going to be an adjustment, right? Moving to the 3-4, Danielle playing the run. Za'Darius had some leakage run defense-wise. So, yeah, maybe the run defense if you really want to get picky. But, like, I'm just telling you, like, if you don't want to go A+, then go A. Like, if you're just reluctant to go with the plus because of the run defense, fine, so be it. But to me, that was borderline A+.
Dukes, put into context, too, with you working on the TV side, I saw you tweet out the numbers for that Vikings game and that it always just reigns supreme, and obviously the Vikings will be on Monday Night Football next week. Put into context just how massive NFL games always are and how the NFL just seems to always win with those TV ratings.
Yeah, so we at Hubbard Broadcasting, that would include all of us, specifically on the TV side, have a guy that his main role is analyzing the ratings, right? So there's a rating system. He gets the numbers overnight. He analyzes, and they use those numbers to sell ads, right? That's the way it works, right? So, like, his day largely is just analyzing the numbers and being able to give to the sales department, okay, you can sell these numbers, you can sell those numbers, right? Broken down by demographics, all sorts of different ways the numbers are broken down. But if you look at total viewers, regardless of age, total viewers for Sunday's game, it was over 1 million. Now, it wasn't like 1 million for the duration of 3 hours, but just the total number of viewers who spent any portion of time watching that game on Sunday on the local Fox affiliate, the Twin Cities viewing area, which extends pretty far east, right? You can go 45 minutes into Wisconsin, 94 east, maybe more than that. That's still the Twin Cities viewing area. You can go, north, as far as like Alexandria, maybe a little south of Alexandria, but certainly north of St. Cloud. You are still in the Twin Cities viewing area. You can go far west. You can go pretty far south, like darn near Mankato, right? St. Peter, right in that area, right? So think about Belle Plaine, there. You drive for 45 minutes or an hour south. That's still the Twin Cities viewing area. So within the Twin Cities viewing area, there were approximately 1 million people, again, regardless of age, 1 million people who tuned in to that game. And I get it. There are many Packers fans in our viewing area, right? So Vikings-Packers normally does better numbers than, Vikings-Lions or Vikings-Saints or whatever it might be. Now, Monday night might be a different animal. That game may approach 1 million just based on that unique time slot. But like a normal Sunday noon or 3:25 game, you're getting a huge viewership. You're just not getting 1 million. But make no mistake about this. Nothing locally touches Vikings games. A big wild playoff game, heck, years ago, the Seinfeld finale or the ER finale or any number of popular sitcom finales, like just nothing touches Vikings games. It's not even close. So yeah, just the viewership was through the roof. Then you also think about the 65,000 people that were at US Bank Stadium. So like imagine if that game was at Lambeau. It might have been closer to, maybe not 1.1 million, but certainly more than the 1 million. But even 1 million viewers for that game Sunday, that is just ridiculous. Trust me, I can promise you on this, we are very, very happy that Monday night's game, Vikings-Eagles, is on Hubbard Broadcasting, right? It's on Channel 5. It's an ABC game.
ABC game, yeah.
We are also very happy. I don't know if this is out there. Call this a mini scoop. Maybe I've even mentioned it before. But week 4, Vikings, Saints, London. That game will be on Channel 5. It's an early start.
Good to know.
It's an 8:30 a.m. start. But a lot of people don't get NFL Network. Yeah, that game will be on Channel 5. Yeah.
Nice. I had no idea. Cool.
Well, now you know.
I appreciate that, too. Thank you. So before the aggregators get pissed off, I'm going to ask you again, Ndamukong Suh update. The aggregators need copy. They need content. They need to post something. They love to hear Darren Doogie Wilson's update on Ndamukong Suh. Give me the potential update as we are now past week 1 and he can sign without his contract necessarily being guaranteed for the season.
Here's the update as of 6:30 last night. So I apologize. We're talking here Tuesday morning, 11:05 a.m. Central. So maybe there's something new in the last 16 hours. But as of 16 hours ago, nothing new. Now, is the Suh camp continuing to check in with the Vikings? Yes, absolutely. Would Ndamukong Suh enjoy playing for the Vikings? Yes, absolutely. But it's a two-way street. Nothing percolating on the Vikings end. So as far as I know, as we sit here on Tuesday morning, there's not anything that is imminent in Ndamukong Suh landing with the Vikings.
I feel like they need more depth there. Like that's one thing I feel like
that's
I feel like they really do need. Yeah,
I mean at some point, I would think he'd take the minimum, right? I mean the Vikings would sign him to the minimum, right? Sure. I mean, I think I can't say with 100% certainty, but my sense is Ndamukong Suh is not ready to retire, that he wants to play football at some point this year, right? So to play, you need to sign with a team. There's breaking news, right? So yes, I agree with you, Judd. They could use some depth there. So that would be something to continue to keep an eye on. Never say never as long as the player is sitting out there.
Hey, Gopher Football. All right. To be very clear here, I am not that excited about what they've done. They've taken care of business, good for them, but they have played two inferior opponents. But I have watched almost every quarter of Iowa Hawkeye football so far, and I've watched a little Wisconsin. And to be very, very clear here, I am incredibly excited about the Gophers' prospects because the Hawkeyes offensively are beyond awful. And Wisconsin, if they can't run, if the run is stopped, they are absolutely in trouble. I have never felt this positive about the Gophers' chances to win the Big Ten West if they just continue on a path of being good. Does that seem fair?
Who's the only unbeaten team? That is fair. Who's the only unbeaten team in the Big Ten West?
The Gophers.
You got it. Every other team
Northwestern lost to like Duke.
Has one loss. Yeah. You know, my guy Evan Hall, the running back for Northwestern, he's one of the best running backs in the Big Ten. The Gophers did not want him out of Maple Grove High School, but he had something like 14 catches in that game on Saturday. But yeah, the Wildcats lost that game to Duke. I still think Purdue has a chance to be pretty good. The Gophers do get Purdue here in October. I believe that's homecoming, by the way, so that should be fun. But Purdue has some guys. The quarterback is really good. Purdue, maybe not Wisconsin or Iowa. It could be Purdue, could be the Gophers' biggest challenge to winning the West. But Judd, I agree. What a year to not play Michigan or Ohio State. Those are both like legitimately top 5 teams. I've watched both teams so far.
Yep.
Both are really, really good. That's, again, not breaking news. But, like, to be able to avoid Michigan and Ohio State, like, this is the year. And I get it. The game in a week, September 24th at Michigan State, really hard game. But guess what? Even if you lose that game, you still absolutely can win the West. It's not like you need to go unbeaten to win the Big Ten West. Heck, you could probably have 2 losses, maybe even 3 losses based on tiebreakers. So yes, this is the year. Think about all the experience the Gophers have. 6th-year guys. Heck, the Gophers have a 7th-year guy. Clay Geary, wide receiver, was a Tracy Claeys player. Seriously. They have a 7th-year player.
He's my age.
I know, but they have all these 6th-year players, right? Chris Ottman-Bell, Mo Ibrahim, Tanner Morgan. Like, they have all this experience. Kirk Shiraka being back as the OC, as the play caller, a really big deal. The Gophers don't have to apologize for what they did the first 2 weeks, right? They can't control those teams being that bad. But yeah, you're right. Like, from an FCS standpoint, like my boy Dom Izzo in Fargo, who follows the FCS very closely, covers North Dakota State, like, he's on record saying Western Illinois may not win a game this year. Like, they're going to play a bunch of other FCS teams. They're not going to win those games. In spring ball, Judd, Western Illinois only had something like 43 players out. Now, they've added players since then, but, like, they barely had a roster for 2 deep in spring ball. So, yeah, like, Western Illinois is really, really bad. So there's only so much you can glean from Saturday's game. There's only so much you can glean from the New Mexico State game after they played just a few days prior. They're bad anyway, but then had to travel. So we'll learn maybe a little bit more this Saturday, although Colorado, blown out by TCU, blown out by Air Force. Heck, remember, it was last year, Judd. I couldn't find the Pac-12 network. I went to a couple bars in St. Louis Park. I ended up at your house. Thankfully, you have the Pac-12 network.
Yeah, I knocked on my door and I almost didn't answer.
Last year. I recall. And you had a bunch of treats.
I don't know about this.
No, you laid out the red carpet.
Yeah, I did. That was a pretty good deal.
You were very hospitable.
I love you.
So yeah, I mean, it was nice, right? I mean, that was a 30-0 game. So the Gophers destroyed Colorado last year. So I fully expect them to destroy Colorado on Saturday. But I'm just saying, like, don't write any sort of final chapter if the Gophers somehow lose to Michigan State. Because even if they lose to Michigan State, now if they win, heck, to me it's smooth sailing into the Big Ten championship game. But if they lose on September 24th, barring catastrophic injuries, right? But, like, if you win September 24th, heck, start making hotel reservations for Indianapolis first weekend of December. But even if you lose that game in East Lansing, there still very much is a realistic path to winning the Big Ten West. The time has come. The Gophers have knocked on the door for a while. Heck, they knocked on the door under Jerry Kill. They knocked on the door in 2019. They knocked on the door pretty good last year. Remember, Nebraska let down the Gophers. If Nebraska had just found a way to hold on against Iowa, it would have been the Gophers winning the Big Ten West. So they came close under Kill. They've come close under Fleck. I'm on record. It's a write that down. Maybe not officially on this show, but somewhere, Twitter sphere somewhere, I have a write that down. It's when, not if, PJ Fleck leads the Gophers to a Big Ten West championship, the Big Ten championship game. So yeah, to me, it is this year. I would make the Gophers the betting favorite. Now, maybe that's not going on a limb when every other team is a loss, but based on the talent they have, with Shiraka back, knowing how good a defensive coordinator Joe Rossi is, yes, this is the year. I fully expect to see the Gophers playing on December 3rd in Indianapolis.
Final scoop, sir.
Well, Louis Varland, look for him. He will start for the Twins. Now maybe he will. He's expected. How about that? So the aggregators don't go nuts. Yeah. He's expected to start for the Twins in Cleveland later this week. So the Twins have a double header in Cleveland, so they can add a 29th man. The signs are pointing to Louis Varland, the North St. Paul graduate, Concordia St. Paul, making another start for the Twins after that nice first start in Yankee Stadium. Look for Louis Varland to start for the Twins in Cleveland later this week. I'm told he's been throwing down in Florida. So the Saints have a game tonight at CHS. Now, maybe he flew back here, but the last couple days I was told he's been throwing down south. Regardless, whether he was throwing here or elsewhere, look for him to start for the Twins later this week. Jorge Polanco should be able to come off the IL at some point this week. I continue to hear that Byron Buxton is progressing, but I feel like he felt like he could have played a couple days ago, but the Twins are on the record. I spoke with Rocco late last week, along with some others, where Rocco said, hey, we're not putting him out there at 50%. So, Buck feels like he can play at 50%, but the Twins won't put him out there at 50%. So in Buck's mind, yeah, I could go play. The Twins don't feel like he's quite ready to play. He needs to ramp up baseball activities, but there is a slimmer of hope that maybe he can get back in there in Cleveland. I think it's over, right? Cleveland won again last night. It's now 5. You're in third place. There's only so many games that you have an opportunity to make up. You look at the White Sox remaining schedule, Cleveland's remaining schedule, it's an incredible long shot. But as long as they still have a 1% chance or a 2% chance, Buck's going to try to get out there. So, slimmer of hope. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but slimmer of hope of Buxton getting back out there before the week is over. So for those big 5 games, or at least some of those games in Cleveland later this week. Gophers basketball, it's an open recruiting period. There are 2 top targets remaining in the class of 2023. So they have the commitment from Cam Christie, the #1 senior in the state of Illinois. That's Max Christie's younger brother. That's a really good get to get him out of the state of Illinois. The 2 remaining top targets, Dennis Evans, big man in California. He's got a relationship with one current Gopher. Dave Thorson's been recruiting him really good. Some other Gophers coaches. He's a 5-star talent, Judd. Kansas wants this kid. TCU does too, but he's going to visit here before the month is over. The Gophers, I'm told, really feel good about their chances to land this 5-star center, a top 20 player in the country. Again, the name is Dennis Evans. Then they feel good about Nolan Winter, Lakeville North senior. His dad is Trevor Winter.
Yep.
He's got a lot of interest, Big Ten teams, St. Thomas, but he's a high major player, not a mid-major player. So the Gophers would love to complete their 2023 recruiting class with Evans, with Winter, along with Christie. If people are wondering, Tayson Chapman, the #1 senior in the state of Minnesota, guard from Totino Grace, he's close to making his commitment. The sense is it won't be Minnesota. It might be a 2-way street where the Gophers have Christie, so do they need Chapman? He's visited Ohio State. Kansas, has some interest in Chapman, Xavier. So he's got really good options. He's a really good player, good kid. It just may not be Minnesota, but that could be a 2-way street sort of thing.
Thanks, Dukes. Great stuff, and we will talk to you again on Thursday.
You got it, Judd. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Later, Dukes.
What
There's
a great
Darren Doogie
job.
Wolfson, man. Just filling in.
He came out of the bullpen and was just spitting fire the entire time.
Of course he is. He always is.